Hello friends, welcome to my channel. Today's tutorial I'm going to show you how I've made this wire wrap pendant. Keep on watching if you'd like to know how I've made it. I will be showing you how I wrapped this labradorite gemstone with bare copper wire. First thing I'm going to do is take some 0.3 wire, roughly about 30 centimeters. Use this to gently wrap around your stone. It just gives you a rough idea of the measurement of your stone. So the length is roughly about 8 centimeters. About 8 centimeters long. I am going to straighten out my wires. So this wire I'm straightening is 1 mil. And I'm going to be cutting 3 30 centimeters length of the 1 mil wire. Very important to make sure your wires are straight. You want your work to be nice and neat, and these nylon jaw pliers help to straighten out the wires. So this is the second one I'm cutting, 30 centimeters. Just need one more. I'm using my previous wire to measure. So I've got 3 30 centimeters length of my 1 mil. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is cut 3 lengths of 6 centimeters of my 0.8. Here's my 0.8 wire. So I'm going to cut 3 of these at 6 centimeters. That's the first one. Here's my second one. And my third one. Okay. So 3 lengths, 6 centimeters, 0.8, and then I've got 3 1 mil, 3 sets of 1 mil at 30 centimeters each. Take your 3 sets of 6 centimeters wire. So from the middle, I'm going to use my chain nose pliers. I'm going to make a bend in the center, like that, so you get a V shape. Okay, so we're going to use these 0.8 wires to hold the frame wire together. So that's the first one. So do the same with all of them. That's the second one. So this just helps me to hold all the wires together. It makes it a bit more easier when I do it like this. Okay. So take your 1mm wires, all 3 of them, mark from the center 15 centimeter mark. Okay, so we're going to start from the middle. Make sure all the wires are sitting together nice and straight, like that. Okay, so next take your 0.8 wire, position it in the middle, and then I'm going to use this wire and wrap roughly about 3 to 4 times around. So bringing this wire down, I'm going to use the tip of my chain nose pliers, bend this wire downwards so I've got quite a firm grip on it. So that's the first wrap. You can give it a little squish just to make sure it's in place, and then again use the tip, fold this over and down. Just going to bring these wires together so it looks nice and neat. So that's the second one, and then another wrap. You can use this side, or you can also turn the piece around and use the other end. You're doing the same thing. Make sure the fold is nice and neat and all the wires are sitting close together. Okay. The wires are bunched up here, so I'm going to just straighten it out. As the wires cross over, try and keep them all parallel, like that. I'm going to make a final wrap. I'm going to bring this wire down towards me. Okay, so that's my final wrap. My stone, I want my stone to sit, so this is going to be the inside. I don't want my cut to be on the outside. It will be sharp on this side, so I'm going to make my cuts on the inside. Okay. Instead of cutting the wire right at the end here, if I do that, there'll be a sharp edge here, and I don't want that. So I'm going to lift this wire up gently, and I'm going to make the cut in the middle. So just leaving roughly about 1/2 a centimeter. So from, let's say from here. Can you see that? So the wire ends in the middle. Okay. And then just gently press it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to lift up the wire gently and then cut in the middle. I'm going to just cut a little bit more of this. I feel it's a bit too much to the edge, so I'm just going to nip off a little bit more. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's the first wrap, and this holds all 3 wires in place. Right, so to work out where my next wraps would be, I'm going to use a marker pen and my ring mandrel. So first I want to shape this wire around the stone, and I'm going to use my ring mandrel to help me do that. So the cut wires are on the inside. So I'm going to just gently get a curved shape. Just like that. And then just, yeah, test it on your stone. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased with that. Okay, so to work out where your next wrap will go, I'm going to use a marker pen. Okay, so I'm just going to do it by eye. I want my next wrap to be roughly in the middle. So just say here, and then I'm going to use my marker pen and this line. So use my marker pen and then just cross over to the other side. So roughly on this side. Okay, so I've got one mark on the left hand side and a mark here. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing using my mark as a guide. So these wires are crossing over. I'm just going to make sure they're sitting nicely. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing. Position the wire, and then using the tip of my round nose pliers to help me make my wraps. I find that I get a sharp, instead of using my fingers to fold the wires over, you get a more rounded look. But with the tips of the pliers, I find that I get a more sharper look. So I've done 2 wraps here. I'm just going to do one more on the right hand side. So I've got 3 wraps here. Just going to bring the wires together, making it look nice and neat. I'm just going to turn it around. So again, I want my cut to be on the inside, so I'm just going to bring this wire forward. Downwards. These can move around as well. So make sure you position it where you want it, and then just secure it with the pliers, pressing it down firmly, and it will stay. I'm going to do the same thing and cut on the inside, the wire tails. I'm going to just lift. I find it easier just lifting the wire up a bit and then cutting it in the middle. I'm just going to cut a little bit more off. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Okay, so that's my second. That's the second wrap. So I'm going to do this one off camera. So do exactly the same thing on the other side, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, so I've wrapped the other side. Okay. Okay. So now, so this is the top part, and then this is the bottom part. I'm going to take the stone out. So this is the bottom part. I'm going to create a seat for the stone by pulling out these wires, so we can have a base for the stone. We can have a base for the stone to sit, it doesn't fall through. I'm going to use my flush cutters to just gently pull the first wire out. Yeah, so I've just made a little gap here. It just helps you to have something to hold on to. So the move I'm going to do is I'm going to position my flat nose pliers here, and I'm going to just pull, I'm going to pull the wires, the top one, towards me. So I've positioned the pliers at the top, and then I'm just going to, so the movement I'm going to make is, I'm going to, it's a bit hard to explain, I'm going to do that. So grab the wires, just pull it. Okay, so I grab the wires and I just pulled it forward. So I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side. Don't worry too much about the shape, you can always readjust it. Okay, so I've made a little gap. So again, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just bring the wires forward. Like that. Yeah. So I've used the width of the flat nose pliers. Okay. For the side ones, I do it slightly different. So I'm going to position I'm going to position it this, bring this inwards. So I'm using the width of the pliers, and then at the end of the flat nose, I'm going to bring this upwards, so like that. Okay. So the last one on the other side, I'm going to do the same. Position. Okay, I'm going to bend it inwards, like that first. Position the flat nose, and I'm right at the edge of your flat nose pliers. I'm going to lift upwards. So it makes it more symmetrical, like that. Okay, so this will be the base. Okay. Like that. So we're going to do the same thing with the top wires. Yeah, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the bottom wires, but this time I'm going to have the stone inside. I'm just making sure everything is sitting nicely. I'm just using the table to just mold the stone in so it fits. Fits in nicely. So again, I'm going to gently to use my pliers. You need to be careful you don't mark your stone. I'm going to use my thumb to just hold it here, just to protect the stone. So grabbing the wire at the top, and then I'm just going to bring it forward over the stone, like that. Do the same to the other side. Once I've pulled all the wires out, I'll make it a bit more secure. So I'm just going to pull this out. And then I'm going to bring I just need to make it secure at the back. Just bringing these wires in a bit more to stop it moving. Just pulling these wires in. Okay. So bring this in. I'm just going to pop, just to do these last bits, I'm just going to pop the stone out. It's much easier without the stone being inside. So I've brought this wire in towards the middle. Position the flat nose pliers to the side of your wrap, and then use your finger to just bring this upwards. And then do the same to the other side. In towards the middle, using the width of the flat nose, and then lift this top wire upwards. Okay. So I'm going to pop my stone back in now. So this is how it's looking. So yeah, these middle wires stay as they are. So it's only the back wires and the top wires you shape. Okay. So now I'm going to use my pliers. So I'm going to use my pliers to just press down and shape the wires around the stone, making sure it's molded nicely. I'm using the spongy part of my pliers. Okay, so that's the back. And that's the front. Okay, so we're now going to shape, I'm going to now shape the bail. So I do this by taking my chain nose pliers. So I'm going to start off with the first wire at the top. I'm going to bring the wires in towards the middle, so in towards the middle of the stone. I'm using the middle as a guide, in towards the middle, and then lift up like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the top one on the left hand side. So bring in towards the right hand side, and then and then lift it up. So you're bringing the wires together. So do the same to the back wires. So in towards the right hand side, and then straight up. Okay, so I'm going to do that with all the wires, all 6 of the wires. We want them all in the same direction. So in towards the left, and then up straight. And then the last one is the middle one. I'm just going to bring these forward. So I'm doing the middle one, so in and then straight up. And then this one, so in towards and then straight out. Okay. So I've got all the wires at the top, and we're going to use this wire at the top to make your bail. So for the bail part, I'm going to, for the bail part, my wires are all uneven at the top. I'm going to measure the shortest one, measures, yeah, so roughly about 8 centimeters. I'm going to cut all my wires down, all the long ones, to this length, making it all even. Okay, all even. So now we're ready to use some weaving wire to create a bail for our pendant. So I'll be using bare copper wire. I've got 0.4. For the bail, I've got my weaving wire, roughly about 1.5 meters long. Measure 30 centimeters. So at the 30 centimeters mark, so I've got the 30 centimeters mark on my right hand side, and then I've got the longer part on my left hand side. So we're going to use the longer side to weave. For now, take your 30 centimeters length of wire, hold all the wires together, okay, and then I'm going to wrap the neck of the pendant, so roughly about 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this helps to hold all the wires in place. And I've got the longer piece on the left hand side. We're going to use this piece to weave with. This shorter length at the front, we're going to use this to decorate our coils, which will be used to, we're going to use this to decorate our coil. So I'm now going to separate these wires before we start weaving. So the nearest wire to you, bring that down. So we're going to make some decorative coils with this one. So one at the front, and then one at the back. So just bring these wires down out of the way. So one at the back, one at the front. So you should have 4 wires in the middle. So we're just going to splay these wires out like that. So we're going to weave with these wires. The width of my spacing is roughly about, so roughly about 1 centimeters. So the first thing, before we start weaving with the longer piece, I'm just going to pop that at the back. With your shortest piece of wire at the front, we're going to wrap this bare 1 mil wire at the front 15 times. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Push the coils down so it's nice and neat. I think I've done 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So they're spaced out now, so you then just push together to make it look nice and neat. So once you've done your 15 wrap, you can cut off this short wire and then use your chain nose pliers to secure the wire ends. Okay, so that's your 15 wraps. And then I'm going to leave roughly about, so from where you've done your wrap, I'm going to leave roughly about 1 centimeter of bare wire. And then I'm just going to cut that off. Okay, so and then I'm going to use my round nose pliers to make a coil that will be placed just as a decoration here on top of your stone. So take your round nose pliers, just make a small loop. Once you've made your loop, cut this straight line. Okay, and then reshape. So this will help you achieve the perfect round. So close your loop and then use your round nose pliers to just spiral. Just spiral gently. So at this stage, I usually use my nylon jaw pliers to continue my spiral. Because we've made this swirl, sometimes your pliers can mark and break the thinner weaving wire. So I use my nylon jaw pliers, which is plastic. So use it to carry on swirling. And then place your decorative spiral just in the middle here, okay? We're going to make the same spiral with the back wire after we've done the weave. So now we're going to use our longer piece of wire to make the weave. I'm just going to split my base wires out. The length I want my weave is going to be roughly about 2 centimeters. So I'm going to start my weave and weave for about 1 centimeter, and then I'll change the shape. So take your longer piece of wire. I'm going to wrap the wire on the right hand side twice, making sure these wires are parallel. Okay, so I'm going to wrap both wires 2 times. So 1, 2. I'm going to push it down, making sure it's nice and neat. And then I'm going to bring this wire over to the other side. So the wire is underneath, and then wrap over twice. 1, 2. And then again on the right hand side. 1, 2, and then over to the left, 1, 2, on the right again, 1, 2, over to the left, 1, 2. I'm going to carry on this weave pattern for just roughly about 1 centimeter, just up to here, and then we'll come back for the next step. So I have done my weave for roughly about 1 centimeter. So I'm going to shape my base wire, and then I'll continue weaving for another centimeter. If you carry on weaving, your weave will just get wider and wider, and you don't want that. So I need to shape my base wire, and I do that after weaving 1 centimeter. So take your chain nose pliers, and from where you stopped your weave, I'm going to bend this wire inwards towards my left hand side. So grab the wire on the right hand side and just bring it over. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this wire on the left hand side. I'm going to bring it over to the right. So grab it and then bring it over like that. Okay, and then where the wires cross, I'm going to straighten them out. So grab the wires on the right hand side, the first 2, and then just straighten it upwards. So like that. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this wire on the left. I'm going to just turn it around. I think it will be a bit easier for me to do it that way. So this is the back, and then where the wires cross, I'm going to grab the wire and then just bring it over gently to the right hand side. So these 2 wires meet. Turn it round to the front. So like that. So I'm going to carry on the weave up until I get to where the wires meet. So now we're weaving from a wider point to a smaller point. So you would find that it's a bit tricky. The weave might sort of like ride up. So you just need to control the wires, you just need to hold the wires down. So I'm going to carry on the left hand side. I'm using my index finger on the left hand side, just placing it underneath and just guiding that wire so it doesn't ride up. Otherwise it will end up too high, and I want the weave to be even. So I'm going to place my hand underneath it to control it. So I'm going to wrap 1, 2, and then 1, 2, pushing it down to where I want it. Again, I'm holding the wire, the weave underneath. I'm doing this quite loosely. 1, 2, pushing it down, and then 1, 2. 1, 2. I'm not holding the weaving wire too tight. Just relax your hand and then just guide it. where you want it to be. 1, 2. Just pushing it down so it looks nice and neat. Over to the left. 1, 2. 1, 2. One, two, 1, 2. So as you reach the top, the wires will just bring themselves together as you weave in. 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, and here's your bail. The total length for my bail will be 2 centimeters. So I'm going to stop weaving now. And to finish off, I'm going to take one of the wires on the right hand side and wrap 3 times to finish off. 1, 2, 3. You always finish off on a single wire so it doesn't unravel. Okay, so now we're ready to form the bail. So to form the bail, you'll need something round. You can use a pen. I've got a needle nose file here, and I'm going to use the handle for it. I'm going to position the file in the middle, and then I'm going to bring down the weave like that. So once you've brought that down, so at the back we're just going to splay out the 4 wires. So place 2 of them on the right hand side and the other 2 on the left hand side, with the weaving wire still attached, as we're going to use this weaving wire to wrap our final coil to decorate the back. So don't worry about this wire, don't cut it off yet. So once you've positioned the bail, once these wires have been splayed out, I'm going to bring the wires on the right hand side, the wires on the left hand side, I'm going to wrap it up around. Just once. So we've got the weave in the middle, and then we've got bare wire on the side. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the wires on the left around. Make sure they don't cross over. If they do, position them nicely around and down. Down and then back up again. Okay, like this. So now I'm going to remove my needle nose. Just going to squeeze that. So the final thing to do is the next thing to do is I'm going to just trim down this weaving wire. I'm going to leave going to cut it down to 30 centimeters. We're not going to use all of this. So I've cut that down. And I'm going to now, so my wire is coming out of the side, so I'm just going to bring this wire inside and then bring it out in the middle near this wire. As we're going to use this wire to decorate this one, the 1.1 mil wire. So I'm going to cut down these wires. I'm going to leave roughly about a centimeter. Do the same to the other side, roughly about a centimeter. And then I'm going to just splay them out. So with the first one, I'm going to make a loop. Make a loop, just cut the sharp. The straight line here. Make a loop, and I'm going to tuck it inside. So just tuck that inside. Do the same to the other one. Make a loop. Just place that inside the bail. Okay. So only make a small loop, as you need a cord to go through that. Make sure it doesn't block a cord going through. So do the same to the other side. Make loops and tuck them in, and then I'll show you the last part of this pendant. Okay, so I've done both sides, and then to shape, I usually just hold my bail and then tilt it forward. It just helps it to hang better. So finally, turn your pendant around and then use this wire at the back to decorate this 1 mil wire. So we're going to do the same spiral we did at the front, at the back. So wrap, make a coil and wrap the base wire 15 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So wrap and then push the coils down. So I've done 10, so 5 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finish off, cut the wires off. Use your chain nose pliers and just secure the end so it's not sharp. And then leave 1 centimeter of bare wire. take I'm just shaping it how I want my coils to go in the direction. So usually I'll shape my wire before. Use your round nose pliers, make a loop, and as always, I always cut this straight line and then reshape to make a decorative coil. I'm going to use my nylon jaw pliers and then just place it in the middle. So this is the back. I'm just going to shape my bail. Okay, so that's the back and that's the front. Thanks for watching. I should be doing a tutorial soon showing how I make my cords to wear my pendant. Okay, thanks for watching. See you in my next video. Bye.